For those of you who may not know me, my name is Greg Powell, and I'm the principal bassist and personnel manager of the Saginaw Bay Symphony Orchestra. I've been doing that for quite a few years. My guest today is Wendy Stuart. Wendy's a member of the Dynamite Crackerjack cello section of the SPSO, and you'll typically see her sitting on the first stand with our principal, Igor Chetkovich. So I want people to get to know you a little better. And my first question is, what drew you to the cello? What caused you to embrace the cello?
Oh, this is a crazy story. I was in 5th grade, and I was standing in line for instrument choice. And I was standing next to a girl I had been friends with in kindergarten, really hadn't talked to since. And she asked me, what instrument do you want to play? And I said, well, either the flute or the cello. And she said, you should play cello, you're tall. I thought about it. I was like, oh, okay. So I get up to the table, and the person from the music store asked the same question. He's like, oh, what do you want to play? And I said, well, either the flute or the cello. And he said, you should play the cello, you're tall. And so I played the cello. So that's honestly how I got started. I mean, I always knew that I wanted to play an instrument when I got into 5th grade, when we started in school. At the time, I was dead set on being a veterinarian. I was big into horses, and that didn't really change until the end of my junior year of high school, when I started taking private lessons and started really loving playing, and took chemistry and really didn't like that. So I actually went on to get a cello performance degree from Eastern Michigan University with the teacher I started with in high school, Diane Winder. And
I know her.
Yeah. The rest, as they say, is history. So
you were tall, so they gave you a cello.
Uh-huh.
I'm surprised they didn't give you a bass.
We didn't start with bass in 5th grade. I'm not sure exactly when kids changed over to bass in the school district where I was, but bass wasn't an option.
So you got your performance degree at Eastern Michigan with Diane, my old buddy. And what was your first job out of college?
Well, the first job I had out of college, I decided I was going to be taking a year off in between college and grad school. I knew I wanted to go back to grad school to study more cello. I mean, I had started playing with the Plymouth Symphony when I was in high school. You know, played in any regional community orchestra I could play with, but I started working at Shar Music right after I graduated from undergrad, like a lot of us in the Ann Arbor, Ipsy area, and spent a little over a year, basically a year and a half, working full-time there in the showroom. Was studying, I started studying with Tony Elliott at the University of Michigan.
Just better than that.
No. And, you know, getting ready for grad school auditions, like I had said, I still had my horse. I had been a horse person my entire life. And so I knew I needed to stay near home. So, cause he was elderly at the time and I couldn't leave him. So, and he wouldn't travel well. So it was basically Michigan or bust. And the funny thing was I was working 40 hours a week at Shar. I was playing in 4 orchestras, Adrian, Plymouth, whatever else I could manage, teaching private lessons and studying. It was a little much.
I might interject for those of you watching this who don't know what Shar Music is. This is a company based in Ann Arbor. It's been here for quite a few years, and it's probably one of the biggest businesses for string instrument players in the country. They have a showroom here in Ann Arbor. I remember the very first one when they first opened, and you could go in and buy your strings and your rosin and stuff like that. And now they do mail order all over the world for tons of people. So that's what Shar Music is about.
Yep.
So did you end up going to grad school at Michigan?
I did. Not the way I thought I would, though. like I'd been saying, I was burning the candle at too many candles at too many ends. And I actually got mono.
Sure.
I actually remember playing a Mall in the Night Visitor with you back then, and I didn't realize that I had mono at the time.
I didn't catch it.
No, you didn't. And anyway, that was, I found out that I was that sick. I was off work for about a month, and I basically had to turn around and take my audition at Michigan, and it didn't go as well as I'd like. So Professor Elliott came out afterwards, and he's like, "Oh, Wendy." And I was like, "Yeah, I know." And he said, "Well, you've worked so much with kids. Have you ever thought about being a music educator?" And I was like, "Well, I kind of wanted to become a cello professor," which was why I was coming back to school. I thought I'd get my master's in performance and then a DMA. He's like, "Well, your audition." And so I was like, I have to be honest, I was kind of sick at working for sure at the time. And I'm like, fine. I thought I would teach for, so I enrolled the following year. I was accepted into their master's program actually in music education, got my certification to teach music and my master's. Thought I would teach for about 5 years or so, 10 max, go back to school. But I just finished my 21st year of public school music education, and I love it.
Congratulations.
I love it.
That's a landmark. So where do you teach now?
Clarkston Community Schools.
And what grades?
I've been teaching 7th through 12th grade for many years now. I used to teach 6th through 12th grade, the whole program, but it's gotten too big. So I can't be everywhere.
And how many orchestras do you conduct?
I have 5 at school, a 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, and 2 other high school orchestras. We have a 9th grade group that's at a different building, so technically 3 high school orchestras. And I conduct one of the full orchestras of the Oakland Youth Orchestra organization.
So when we were setting up this appointment to do this, you mentioned auditions.
Yeah.
How are you auditioning kids for the orchestra?
Just like we are right now. We have Zoom appointments, and as far as I know, we're one of the few youth ensembles that are doing our auditions as live and as we would in person. So the kids sign up for 10-minute slots. We let them in through the waiting room in Zoom, and they play their solo. Then we project sight reading excerpts up on the screen for them. They get their minute to study and go for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ain't science wonderful?
It's crazy.
I belong to a orchestra personnel managers users group, discussion group, and we've had some Zoom meetings with 62 orchestra personnel managers from all over North America, and one of the topics has been auditions.
Mm-hmm.
And virtually everybody has postponed their fall auditions to after the first of the year, because for a major symphony orchestra, I'm not so sure a Zoom audition would work so well.
No, it would be very hard to do the blind audition process that we've developed over the years. And that actually would be easy, but it'd be hard to, you just turn off your video. But there's some,
this is a good thing.
It's a great thing. And it's as close as we can get to interacting with the kids, which is really what we all miss the most.
Right. So when did you start playing with the Saginaw Bay Symphony Orchestra?
I looked that up because I couldn't remember. It was, can you believe this, 2005.
Wow. So who's our music director at that time?
Patrick Flynn.
Patrick Flynn. May he rest in peace.
Absolutely. I miss him.
Amazing musician, brilliant musician.
Truly.
Not the easiest guy to work with, but
no.
Standing musician. So then you were there for all of Brett Mitchell's years,
mm-hmm.
and now with Fuad Fakhouri.
Mm-hmm. And with all of the, it's funny, I think I played every conductor search except for Fuad's.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
So in all,
I'm sorry I missed his.
15 years with the orchestra.
Yeah.
Are there any concerts that stand out as particularly special?
I've been trying to think about that, and there's so many of them, to be honest. I was thinking about Patrick the other week because I was reading an article in the New York Times about Baryshnikov. I had seen something on YouTube with some dancers, and I know it was a role that he had championed, and so I was looking it up just to see how the different dancers looked. I'm always amazed at ballet dancers. I don't know how they do what they do, and I love how the music works with that. I don't know how it. I've played ballets, but not enough. And wow, what a tough job to keep a tempo for those folks. And I ended up finding an article about the production of that ballet that Baryshnikov did in New York City. And lo and behold, one of the last paragraphs was like, and Baryshnikov collaborated with music director Patrick Flynn, who I was like, could that be? And I'm thinking, yeah, that could very well be. Yeah. Yep. So that was kind of a cool thing. I was going through things at school this year, and I came across the DVD that the Saginaw Bay Symphony produced for one of our anniversaries, maybe 70th, 75th, something like that. And it was a video with Patrick, and we were playing Dvorak New World. And I remember I was a sub then, and the substitute player, and I was sitting in the back stand, and right behind my head was the timpani. And Mark Madry was playing at the time. And he leans over and he's like, sorry about this. But that was such a cool process, going on tour with him. Do you remember when we went up north with the orchestra and we had an overnight trip?
Oh, right.
Yeah, that was
all about that.
Yeah, and that was early on in my days of playing. I remember so many of the concerts. Some of them we would leave dress rehearsal thinking, how are we gonna do this? Because we just don't have a lot of rehearsal time. And then the concert comes along and we leave the stage saying, that was incredible. That was incredible. And we've had so many of those in Saginaw. I gave you a lot, as much as my crazy busy schedule lets me. And some of my more memorable concerts really have been in Saginaw. And I think it has a lot to do. I've been thinking a lot about Saginaw Bay Symphony. I've missed so much playing the concerts that we had to cancel this spring. They were some of my favorite, actually all of my favorite concerts programs for this year were all in the spring, both with the other orchestra I'm a member of and with Saginaw Bay. I was, get to play Shostakovich 5 again. I was like,
well, don't give up hope that maybe in the future.
Oh, I know.
I should interject for the people watching this discussion. The Saginaw Bay Symphony Orchestra has less rehearsals than a lot of our sister orchestras around the state. Back when Leo Najjar was the music director, we had more rehearsals. And by the time Leo left, we were playing our concerts in one of two churches, First Presbyterian Saginaw and First Presbyterian Bay City. Leo left, went through the whole search process, hired Patrick Flynn. And when he agreed to accept the position, he said, I want to make a deal. These players are really good. They can play on less rehearsals than they've been having. And in order to balance the budget, I'll get by on 3 rehearsals because I believe in the players and they can do it, if we can have a full-size orchestra in a real hall. So that's when we moved to the Temple Theater. We went back to full-size orchestras, playing full-size repertoire. And yes, it is a real stretch to play the repertoire we play on 3 rehearsals when many of our sister orchestras around the state have 4. Sometimes Ann Arbor has 5. Oh, time is flying. This has been just wonderful chatting with you, Wendy, and I'm having such a blast, and I'm sure the people watching this will too. What can we say? What we've done for most of our lives is to play in orchestras for a live audience. We haven't been able to do that. The last time I played an orchestra was 14 weeks ago today. Today is June 17th. And who knows when we'll be back together again. I can't wait for that day. First, just to be together with my colleagues, making terrific music. But then the best thing of all is having that audience there because of the energy and the synergy that goes back and forth between them and us to make the performance happen.
And you know, the thing that I wanted to say that makes Saginaw Bay that much more special is the community. I've played in many parts of the state and been a member of orchestras for a long time, some longer than even SBSO. There's no place I've played that has the community that we have in Saginaw, both as an orchestra and the friendships and the camaraderie and the friendliness, but also
absolutely.
In addition, I've never had so much time spent in a community where I've gotten to, you know, while often my husband and I will, who's also a player in the orchestra, often stay up on Friday nights. And, you know, we've gotten to know community members and see, you know, go to the restaurants nearby and walk throughout downtown and get to know folks. So the audience becomes part of our family as well. Like I've had in very few organizations. So
well, I'm trying to remember, keep in mind, this is temporary. This too shall pass. We will be back on stage at the Temple Theater one of these days. And I think I can speak for both of us. Cannot wait until that day comes about. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. It's been a joy talking with you. And
as well. Thank you for thinking of me.
Stay safe. And we'll see you the next time the orchestra gets together for rehearsal.
Can't wait.
Great rest of the afternoon.
You as well. Take care.